Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday, the middle of the week. And today I have a person who has been hugely influential in my life. Her name is Barbara Bashan, and she has created a modality that releases trauma so quickly, so amazingly. I saw her for the first time 3 years ago, and we're going to talk a little bit about her, about the modality, and about the massive impact and influence it's had in my life. So we're going to welcome Barbara. Hello, Barbara.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here.
And I am so, so happy that you're here. And I am so serious when I say you have been one of the biggest influencers in my own personal evolution. So thank you.
You're I'm couldn't be happier about that. Yes.
Well, I remember 3 years ago, the first time I came to you, January of 2018, I felt very, very broken. And you really set a string through the work that we did together. There was a string of events that was set in motion that has been just so positively impactful. And I want to talk about that, but a little later, because first I want to talk about you and your journey of transformation and your creation of this very powerful modality.
Okay. So, I guess to begin with, I didn't this work itself that I do, NeuGenesis, has been on my definitely in its evolutionary process the last 15 years. But prior to that, I was trained in medicine, and I worked in the hospital, and I was trained, and so I have a medical background, but I hated the hospital. I hated I that's but it was such an education for me on so many grounds. Is that I learned, anatomy and physiology, and I learned chemistry and microbiology and all of those things that are I'm a learner. I like to know how things work. It's just I've been that way forever. And then I became a massage therapist for, gosh, it's been 45 years ago, probably. And in that, again, I developed a school, and I taught for about 12 years with it. And we designed a nationally certified program. So I
Wow.
guess in all of that and teaching people, um, the good practice and a solid foundation in body work, that was a big piece in my life. And again, I like to know how things work, and I like to teach that way. It's there's one thing about the intuition, which is a huge part of who we are, but on the contrast, it's really good to know how things actually function, the mechanism of function. So that leads me to the work that I'm doing now, which was about 15 years ago, and ready to learn in a different way, which is instead of just about the body, I watched through all those years how important it is the mind's, and I say that, the mind body connection. So I jumped fully into the mind part after years of working with the body and its intelligence and beauty. And that really, I went down the rabbit hole because that's where this work began to be created in my understanding of how the mind works. And I learned several different kinds of practices, and they taught me so much, and the people that influenced my life. But I'm a tinkerer, and it's like, why that doesn't work but this works, and why it works is because the neocortex does this work, and that's how it functions, and then this is how the hippocampus works, and that work is really important. So I'm just like immersed in the activity of how the brain is a beautiful programmer. And it is but it's not to negate the fact that our intelligence is even deeper than that. Our mind and our brain is one thing, but our deeper intelligence is very connected to that also. But at first, in order to drive a car, you got to learn how to hit the brakes, and you got to know how to turn the engine on, and you got to listen to things in your car, and that's just the fundamentals of mechanism. So between the
Love
two of
that
those things,
analogy.
the intuitiveness of driving a car, but also the mechanics of that, I'll use that as an analogy.
I
So
love that analogy. I think that
yeah.
really speaks to it so well, because there is so much, that you have to do in order to actually drive that car. The little things that need to be in place that you can't get away from in order
Right.
to accomplish the goal of driving that car. Love that analogy. You
Yeah.
are very good at analogies. I know this from the sessions that we've done together.
It's how the mind works. The mind
Definitely.
likes to work in pictures and stories, right? That's how
Yeah.
we learn. That's how we see it. Yeah, it's true.
Awesome. So this work has evolved so I just want to recap, going from medicine and the medical side to the massage therapy and moving kind of more into this alternative side to delving into the mind and the mind body connection, and really what's become this body of work where you actually use both things. It's
Yeah.
mostly the mind, but you definitely have a body element to it, especially in the last part of what you do in your
Yeah.
sessions.
That's, I mean, that's this. I mean, you got to address this.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
love it. Love it. So, what is your most favorite part of the work? The part that keeps you going and learning and wanting to serve more people? What is the most inspirational part of this work?
Oh, by far the changes people have, by far. When a person sits there and in their quandary of whatever it is, and I can't shake it. It's been this way forever. I can't decide, or this is killing me, or I mean, that person, and in a matter of 5 hours, it's a whole different understanding, and the look, their everything changes, from the look on their face, from their continence to their mindset, everything. That's what drives me, is seeing change, real change in people's lives. It's fascinating. It's, I mean, what could be better than that? It is.
Absolutely. Just such
That's what drives.
positive change. I love that. And I can attest to the long-term permanent change that the work that you do does. I mean, 3 years ago, just a little over 3 years ago, when I came to you the first time, I felt incredibly broken, very unsure what to do. Just when you said it's killing people, that's what I felt like. I felt like
I
some of
remember.
the things that was going, like it was actually killing me. If it wasn't killing me in my physical body, which of course it was because it's tied together, I felt like it was killing my soul. And
Yes.
literally within 4 months of me seeing you, there was this string of events that happened that completely shifted everything in my life. And it started with my session with you. And
Mhm.
then just from that change, the actual change, when you read that statement before we were getting on here to me, of me
The
three
first
years ago, the first time, I thought to myself, I remember that, but it's hard to
you
believe
don't.
that that was me exactly. Like I remember it, but it's so distant, it's so far. I'm so far removed from that state of mind. It's
And
amazing.
that as the truth of who you thought you were, and the reality of your life. And it's like, it's not true. It was true when you sat there, but that's the beauty of, so from that session, that first session, Christina, to this last session, and then you get to see, and because we document all of this, because that's the trick with this stuff, is you forget how stuck you were. Honestly, you forget that. You're really, when we read that and you're going, I kind of remember that, but it had nothing to do with the truth of who you were, was it?
Not at all. And I felt absolutely it was like it was a story. I didn't
Yes.
have any emotional charge to it like I remembered it, but because there was no emotional charge on it at all, it's really like it's gone. Not having that emotion attached to it, it's like you erased it. It's
But
amazing.
that's the part of this work. And that's a part of the brain that we have to understand. And it's the limbic system. So what this work does is it works with the parts of our brain that put the whole process that puts us all together. And the emotions is what I say is the glue that keeps the story together. Isn't that correct? Remember me saying that?
Love it. And I want to just say that again. The emotions are the glue that keep the story together.
Yes.
Powerful.
It's the truth. It's how
Yeah.
the brain is set up. So we address those emotions, right, in this process, and you remember that, and you have a 18 pages, and it's like it's time to clear it out. And so you release those emotions, and once those are, it's part of the process, but it's a very each one is an important part of the process because it's a whole system, and that we have to dismantle the program. And those emotions truly are what keep the story together. So we identify those, and then they go neutral. And then when that goes neutral, when the glue is all of a sudden gone, Christina, what happens to the story?
It's gone. It doesn't matter anymore. It no longer is driving my bus. I always refer to my life as this
I like
bus,
that.
right? And it's not driving my bus anymore. Like, and so what that does is it allows, the part of my brain that I want driving my bus to actually be the one driving my bus.
You want to drive your bus,
I
right?
do. I want my brain here to be the one that's running things for me, not my stories from the past, not the trauma from the past. I want it to be Christina, me now, who knows a thing or two more about life than I did a few years ago.
And
And when
apply
I
it. And
and
that's who, yes. Yes,
yeah,
that's exactly what this work is that it separates, and I want to say it separates, it closes those stories. And those stories have actually, a lot of people identify thinking that's who they are, right? They're influenced by their parents or their environment they grew up in, or an addictive family. I mean, it could be, I mean, violence. It could be all kinds of things. And we all come with it because that's the way children are immersed in that reality, and we begin to design the nature of who we are from that influence that is there for us, and whatever that is. And oftentimes they're really traumatic,
yeah.
but it's
And
perception.
it's totally, that's exactly it, perception. And just when you talked about addiction, you've done a lot of work in the community of addiction recovery.
I have. And in fact, that's a big part of this story is that I had the good fortune of working pretty exclusively for years in with addiction in the recovery world. And it was the container that really gave me the foundation to practice and to see how this evolution of this work took place, because I had amazing clients in recovery, and it was profound. And how it accelerated this work is because I had that group of people that were so willing and so beautiful in doing this work with me for years. And I'm so grateful for that experience. And I don't know, people who have experience with someone in their family of addiction, or we all have addictive qualities. It isn't like we all do. I do. We as
Yeah.
humans are addictive in general, but how you begin to, are you compelled by it and held down by it, and are you a victim of it, and you can't function, or do you notice them and say, I can change that? But in that recovery, it was a wealth of education and experiences that again propelled me in this work, because I saw people actually be able to love themselves. And it was astounding. I'm speechless because I'm recalling sessions and people that I was able to work with that had, I mean, significant movement, that without this work in recovery, um, it's a hard journey.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, with this work, it was exceptional. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I had a client call me, and this was probably 7 years ago. Was working there at this particular. It was a while ago, and she called me out of the blue, and she said, "What you did 7 years ago with me changed my life, and I've been trying to find. Are you doing it still?" I mean, I hadn't seen her in like 7 years, and I said, "Absolutely, yes. It's in fact, it's evolved even more than when we worked." And it again. So I just did another session with her. It was it
Awesome.
was it was incredible. Yeah.
Well, I will say that the session that you and I did in 2020, January of 2020, was quite possibly one of the most spiritual experiences of my entire life. It is an experience that I have gone back to repeatedly, especially through the crazy of 2020. And that brought
Right.
big changes for me personally as well. Um, and it it was incredibly powerful and something that I still look back on.
So tell me what it did for you then. That's this you're the walking example as far as really telling people what this work is about is you. I mean, you're here to tell your story.
Thank you. I do want to tell this story because it just is such a testament to the work that you're doing. So, like we talked about in 2018, that moved a big boulder off of my path, and that was really blocking things. I felt very blocked by that. And so that opened the way for other things to flow into my life um, to just grow. I'd kind of stagnated in my personal growth, and it just like set me on another trajectory for great personal growth. And so when I came to see you in 2020, I was up against kind of another boulder, but it wasn't as big as the one in 2018. We'd cleared that one, and that was no longer, again, there was absolutely no emotional charge on that whatsoever. And in 2020, I wasn't 100% sure. Like, I knew that I felt stuck, but I wasn't 100% sure what it was. But you so expertly, through the process that you do, helped me uncover and see it. And when I could see it, then we could do something about it. But the great thing about what you do is, Barbara, one of the things that I love is you literally hold my hand
Mm.
through the hours that we're doing it. It's not okay, here's what you do. Okay, see ya. No, it is a process where you are holding my hand. Sometimes I feel like you're actually carrying me to the other side. And then in the last part, the awakening,
Mhm.
um, that was actually where the totally profound spiritual experience was for me. And that vision that I had in that process really got me through some really um, challenging times, as we all had in 2020, and allowed me to make some big changes in my life because of that experience. And then I love that we reconnected because I was planning on coming to see you in June because I knew it was getting close, but I stay home a lot with the COVID. And when I went to see you last month, so just was it 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was about 3 weeks ago.
About
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, and I was not sure again. I wasn't really sure, and in
I
fact, I was
remember
feeling
that. You're going,
good about.
I'm not just like you're not it's not a big deal. You don't have a lot of big deals in your life right now, right? You're going, I
And
don't even
the
know
other
what we're going to work on.
Exactly. And the other times, even if I wasn't sure what it was, I felt like there was a big deal. This time I was like, things are pretty good. Things are great. And yet, again, expertly, you helped uncover these things and show it for what it is. And I just want to share a little bit about the just my vision that I had, especially with that bag in
Oh, I'd
this
love
vision
to hear it.
that I
Yeah,
had
share. Yes.
I had this bag. It was one of those brown grocery sacks that you can't see in. But when you looked in the top, it just looked like wire and ribbon and yarn and just like this tangled up, yucky mess that you just don't want to even deal with. Like it just looked like garbage, but this was a big bag. And this bag of stuff was a big, powerful influence in my life, but I couldn't even see what it was because it was in this brown bag. And then through the process it took me through towards the end, like I can see it in my mind. It was like when the grocery sack gets too heavy and things just fall out. And when it fell out, I like the light was on it. I could see this is just trash.
Stuff.
I It's just stuff that I don't need right now, but it's still here. I'm still carrying this bag around, but by having it just out there in the light, and then that water came and just brushed it away and blew the bag away. I mean, it was so powerful, and I have gone back to that vision that you helped walk me through, literally carrying me through, holding my hand through your beautiful process, and it has peeled back more layers, healed it back. So
And so
always,
since then, Christina, since what, 3 weeks ago, and you know what? You were absolutely right, because it wasn't like this monumental session, like, oh, I got to get in. This is killing me. I can't, it's like this imperative. It's like, I'm not even sure what we're going to do this time, but there you go. And that is the beauty. What you explained too, and it's hard for people when they have never were actually done a set. All this is kind of obscure. Like, what are you talking about? Bags and awakenings and word lists and all this. The piece is a progression of I would call it four things: inquiry, naming, which is the words, right? It's the emotions, new directives. Remember when we go up and we give the brain new directives, and then the awakening. Those is what I call the four pillars of this work. And each one builds on the last, and you need each one of these processes to get there. So when we talk about the awakening is in any of this that you're talking about, it was you, Christina. You say I hold you, and yes, indeed, I do. But the beauty is you did the work. All of that session you got to drive it. It's your language. It was you saw it all. That was not. It's you. And I believe that's the biggest power of this work, is that I hold this space and I organize it in a way that you can see you do its process effortlessly. It's like, well, sure, I can. Yeah, yeah. It all makes sense. But the beauty is all those symbols, all of those parts are in your language. It's your wheelhouse. It's your experience. It's you that got to understand, because it's yours, not mine. It's not my attitude. It's not my beliefs. It's not my story. It's all yours.
and I think that's where
And
you're
that's
such a
the beauty.
superstar. And Barbara, you're such a superstar in this, because you're right. It is my story or whoever you're seeing, but through your modality that you have created,
It
it,
shapes around you and it just holds you. It's just
yeah,
remarkable. I agree.
it
It
is.
blows my mind every time. It is. It's just I says it's one size fits all kind of thing. It's like putting
Yeah.
on stretch pants. It's like it doesn't matter what your shape is, it just fits. That's
For
how it is.
I absolutely 100% agree. Anyone. I can't think of a single person that I would be like, I don't know if this will work that well for you. No, I agree
Mm-mm.
with you. It will work for
Yeah.
anyone who is open to changing. And I bet
It
even
does.
some of your resistant clients, they become open
Yeah,
because
it's
we're
the ones that their wife says you better go, you know, and they're sitting there like, she told me I had to come, or they're in treatment and it's like, I don't want to be here. I'm not, no way. You're not going to touch me. And it's like it does. And all of a sudden, there it is. It's just incredible. So yes, it does work, whether you believe it or not. Whatever, it is there, and it provides an incredible ability to hold and see yourself and where you've been stuck or seen, or I mean, it's just whatever it is, but it's you that drives it. It's you that sees it, and it's gentle. It's not. It's just clear
Yeah.
because that's how the brain works. But the beauty is what you're telling me, and what is the truth. In the end, after all of these pieces of this process, the bottom line, it's a beautiful process. But the bottom line is the experience of yourself. That's it. That's really what you're looking for, is freedom from your story or from conflicting feelings or a lifetime of whatever it is. And I think a lot of people have tried many different modalities, whether it be just regular cognitive therapy or counseling or EMDR, or I mean, there's a lot of different modalities out there that are designed to help people. And to a degree they do. Thank God there are, but I'm telling you, this is like steroids. There's nothing like it. I I'd put it, there's just nothing like it. I
Yeah.
just know that. So,
And Barbara, I've been around the block with a lot of different modalities in my personal journey of growth, my desire to heal at a very, very deep level. And I would agree that what you offer and the modality that you have created is absolutely um, like I, based on my own personal experience, the most powerful modality I've ever
that's
experienced with anyone.
remarkable. Thank you. Really, honestly. Oh, me too. Telling you. That's why I do it. Just to see your face and see your evolution in it. And oh, and to people who have been suffering for years and years and years. I mean, that too is enough. And that's what drives me. It's like I know lives are changed. I know it's just that's why I'm doing it. Yeah.
Love
Yeah,
it.
I will always do it now. And it's at a place now because it has evolved. It has evolved over 15 years. The more I understand, the more experiences that I share with other people. And it's like, oh my God, that's it. So I always I say, for every thing I learn, and every session I learn something. I do. I just am, it's incredible what I learn, whether it be about human behavior or I mean it's just anything, and even how this thing shapes around people, how this thing does work, and my more exploration in whether it be psychology or physiology or neurobiology in the brain, neuroscientists and whatever aspect I'm looking at it, I can see it through those eyes because it's the truth. But the pieces is how it is designs and fits everyone, that they are, that it can affect anyone. I
For
mean, it's
sure.
phenomenal. And watching its evolution, and it's now at a place, and I keep saying this, it's perfect. I've never come to this place that I see it, and now, and it's in perfection. I'm amazed. I'm honored, really. I'm quite honored to be this practitioner of this work. It's fun. It's a lot of
It,
fun.
it's amazing. And Barbara, I want to thank you so deeply for me and for everybody watching. All of the way to contact Barbara, and I'm sure that there's a lot of you now that are like, I've got to get in to see Barbara. And you're right, you do. She's going to change your life at such a deep level. So you can contact her. All of her contact information is in the description. And Barbara, if you had one inspirational thing to share with people just here before we close, what would that one thing be?
Change is possible. It's very real. It's within your ability. It's within each, it is within your ability, no matter how defeated you feel or confused, or it is possible. I just know it. And I just know it because I've seen it over and over and over and over again. there is
Amen.
another, and it can happen. So it's there.
100%. Barbara,
It
been
takes time, but it's there.
absolutely. And with what you do, I think that you can get from A to B in a pretty short period of time. And that's what's amazing. And then once you're at B, you can go to C. You're like we talked about before, you're not going to go A to Z, but you can go A to B and then B to
Yes.
C. You can.
That's
And
why
then
I
A
tell
isn't
people,
even there
the
anymore.
real work begins now. After the session, it's like, oh my God. And it's like, oh, I want the sun to shine on me. And this is like great. Yes, it is great. But honestly, the real work begins now. And that is that you commit to your life and changing those things that you're now able to see and do without all of this baggage getting hauled through the baggage claim every place you go. And it's like, it's like it's gone. It's like lighten your load, but you still have a journey. You still must journey into your life. That's it.
For sure.
That's what you keep saying. In those 3 years, it's like you've had to journey yourself, Christina, but you've done it. You've shown up in your life and you've changed it. That's the difference.
And you've made a huge and positive impact in my life, Barbara. It has been such a pleasure to talk to you.
I thank you for this time.
Thank you so
Really.
much. Everybody, we'll see you next week. And make sure you contact Barbara through the links in the description. Bye.
Great. So good to talk with you.
Same.
Bye.